Yo, and what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. The WWE decided for the Elimination Chamber in 2021 to pick the absolute worst case scenario for Wrestlemania season and go with it. We're going to pick the worst possible thing that you could ever imagine, and we're going to make that a reality. And they did that tonight at the end of tonight's Elimination Chamber, a show that actually didn't start off all too bad, but by the time things were all said and done, we have a WWE champion that got smacked up by a bad bunny in the middle of a show. In the middle of the show, rather. And we're going to talk about it right here, right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Elimination Chamber Review and Reaction Show. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
We had 6 men in the Elimination Chamber for Raw. One of them was the WWE Champion Drew McIntyre. The other 5 in that matchup, each former WWE Champions in their own respects, and all of them, an infinitely better choice to be WWE Champion than The Miz. The Miz. Of everybody that we've talked about over the last couple of weeks, there is one name that no one said at all, and it was The Miz. Do you know why nobody said The Miz? Because The Miz is a laughingstock. The Miz is garbage. That character is dead. He has been nothing but a joke in the WWE for the last 2 years. He brought back John Morrison and turned John Morrison himself into a walking punchline. He was gifted back a Money in the Bank briefcase that he already lost once this year. One that he didn't even win in the Money in the Bank match that took place last year. And here we are. Here we are. A few weeks away from WrestleMania. One more meaningless pay-per-view in the way before we get to the biggest show of the year, and we have the worst fucking champion you could ever imagine at the head of Monday Night Raw. What is wrong with Vince McMahon that he has to just disrespect Drew McIntyre? It's bad enough Drew's title run had no fans to witness it and had to be mired by 9,000 matches with Randy Orton. But instead, here we are now. He's lost once again to The Miz on the road to WrestleMania. After defending the championship in an Elimination Chamber match that he shouldn't have even been part of. And here we are. And what's going to happen now? The Miz was seen backstage during the show talking to MVP. We had every single talking head on Twitter, from Ryan Satin to Raj Giri and everybody else, was predicting that The Miz was going to sell the Money in the Bank briefcase to MVP and they were going to give it to Lashley and Lashley was going to cash in. I actually wouldn't have minded that. I would have preferred that to what you did here. Sure, it's a rehash of what we've seen maybe about a decade ago in Impact Wrestling when Drew and Bobby were doing their thing over there for the Impact World Championship. But it would be better than this. I feel like I'm going to have a conniption. I feel like my brain is just going to explode out of my head because The Miz, for absolutely no reason whatsoever, is the WWE champion. Oh, well, he took advantage of the money. Don't get me the Money in the Bank. I already told you. That Money in the Bank contract he's been carrying around is trash. It's garbage. It's worthless, and it shouldn't be in his possession. It was already cashed in. It doesn't matter that John Morrison made the decision for him. The cash-in was made and failed. End of story. It wasn't his bank. It wasn't his Money in the Bank briefcase to begin with. It was Otis's, and he was given that with some bullshit court trial. He was gifted the Money in the Bank twice. Once by JBL off of a bribe, and the other time now because Adam Pearce, I guess, felt bad for The Miz, and now we have ruined everything. Ruined everything. I don't understand where they could possibly go. And when you think about the fact that on this very same show where The Miz would win the WWE Championship, he got smacked around like a bitch by a guy who's not even a pro wrestler. A guy that's about 100 pounds soaking wet, maybe knows about 3 wrestling moves because he learned them in the last couple of weeks and has no business being in the WWE. I have respect for Bad Bunny and what he does in the music world. Apparently, he's a big deal. Great. Great, congratulations. Let me tell you one thing about WrestleMania. Wrestling fans don't watch WrestleMania to see the fucking celebrities show up. We watch WrestleMania for great championship matches. The showcase of the immortals does not encompass celebrity nobodies and people that nobody cares about. You might care about this particular somebody. Does that mean Bad Bunny's going to be the World Heavyweight Champion tomorrow night on Raw? So he can have a match against The Miz because he smacked The Miz in the face? Diss The Miz for not being a champion while he's walking around with a kid's toy over his shoulder? Give me a fucking break with this company. All they had to do was get Drew to WrestleMania. You could have had Drew wrestle Edge in the main event for Raw, and then you could have had Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns for the main event of SmackDown. But they went ahead and fucked that up too. They screwed it all up too. Because despite the fact that the SmackDown Elimination Chamber was the better of the 2 chambers, it was more exciting and was a whole lot of fun to watch. Mostly because we've seen Daniel Bryan versus Cesaro throughout the majority of that Elimination Chamber match. Made the match fantastic. Cesaro doing his little chin-up bars on the top from hanging from the chains of the Elimination Chamber. Daniel Bryan going like a $1 Million Man throughout the entire match. $1 Million Man, not Ted DiBiase, but the $1 Million Man like the Bionic Man. Because that's what Daniel Bryan is. But then they screwed this up. This was an easy chip-in shot right here, too. Because they decided instead of giving Cesaro the opportunity. Because, let's call a spade a spade. There's no way this Elimination Chamber mattered at all. This was 6 guys fighting to see who was going to lose to Roman later in the night. Okay, it had no WrestleMania implications, nothing more. So if you were just going to throw this out there and have a throwaway championship matchup, Daniel Bryan's not a piece of trash to be thrown away. That is your main feud. That could have been the biggest thing going. But instead, you didn't even opt for the second best pick. Cesaro, primed and ready. He's got the hot hand, like I was saying. He should have won this match. It would have gave him a higher profile. He could have went through everybody, been beaten by Roman Reigns, and then got a rematch at Fastlane, setting up Roman versus Daniel at WrestleMania. Would have been fine with that. Would have been absolutely fine with that. But instead, you made Daniel Bryan run the gauntlet, so to speak, and outlast everybody in the chamber. He and Cesaro were the first 2, and Daniel Bryan ended up winning the whole thing. In an Elimination Chamber match that was very, very cool. Even Jey Uso got some really good spots in there. He did something I've never seen before, and he trapped Kevin Owens' arm in the door of the Elimination Chamber, pinned him there, repeatedly super kicked him in the face, and then frog splashed him, getting Kevin Owens out of the match and taking everything that I thought was going to happen and flushed it right down the tubes, because I thought for sure this was going to Kevin Owens, because everything that happens with Roman from this moment on until WrestleMania doesn't really matter. Because we know Roman's going to WrestleMania. So then Daniel Bryan gets his championship match immediately following the SmackDown Chamber match. Roman Reigns comes out, almost gets tapped out as Daniel Bryan wrapped him up in the yes lock real quick, but he fought his way out. Next thing you know, he's got Daniel Bryan wrapped up in a guillotine. There was no way Daniel was coming out on top. He just went through a hellacious Hell in a Cell match, and Roman Reigns was your winner, retaining the Universal Championship, only to get speared by Edge so that Michael Cole can say, well, I guess we have our answer now. Which they would confirm later on in the show. They really took the long way around to get to Edge versus Roman Reigns. They screwed up everything else in the process, when if this was your end game, you could have pulled the trigger the night after the Royal Rumble and you could have been off to the races. But instead, you had to destroy 12 other men in the process, build up guys like Sheamus, build up guys like AJ Styles, build up guys on the other end like Daniel and Cesaro, and pull the trigger on none of them. None of them. There was no chance Roman was losing. We all knew that. But Edge now finally making his decision sets us on a course that I'm not very happy with. Because think about it. They've been trying to sell us for the last 5 years that Roman Reigns is the big dog. He's the A-plus #1 guy. He's the new John Cena. He's the new Steve Austin. He's whatever moniker you want to throw on him. He's this generation's big guy. And the biggest match he can have at WrestleMania is against a guy from the last generation who's 47 years old, wrestled about 4 times this year, and deserves a championship match just because he's coming back from career-threatening injury. That's the story you're telling for your A-plus top guy in Roman Reigns. Your number 2 guy was Drew McIntyre, and you just shit him right through the old intestines. You chewed him up. Vince McMahon, give me a nice plate of Scottish trash, and I'm gonna eat it. Wait, dress it up like Braveheart and give me a fork that looks like a sword. That's Drew McIntyre on a plate, thanks to Vince McMahon. You want to talk about poop hammers? You guys, I didn't think I was going to be giving out that many. Because, truth be told, there was not much going on this show. And as far as the action's concerned, the first half of the show was just fine. Just fine. Even the triple threat match was fine as far as the action goes. After Daniel Bryan lost and Roman Reigns got speared by Edge, we went on to the next match of the night, the triple threat for Bobby Lashley's United States Championship. They pulled Keith Lee from this matchup, and they were saying because of the injuries he sustained thanks to Bobby Lashley on Monday Night Raw. But I'm telling you the facts. And the fact is, it's been all over the internet, all over the dirt sheets. It's being heavily reported. Vince McMahon hates Keith Lee. He doesn't see a spark in Keith Lee. He doesn't get Keith Lee. The guy needs more work. And I'm saying Vince McMahon needs to have his vision checked, and he needs to have his booking license revoked. We've all known this for quite some time, but how far off the deep end do you have to be to pull Keith Lee off of this card in a United States Championship match and then crown The Miz as your World Heavyweight Champion in the same show? The man is losing his mind. He needs to be committed and put into Bellevue, never mind retire from wrestling altogether. He needs to be institutionalized after what we've seen here on this show tonight. How do you not see anything in Keith Lee? Remember the Keith Lee we saw in NXT? The NXT champion who's putting on match of the night candidates with Dominik Dijakovic, who's another guy they just chewed up, spit out, and took a big dump in the trash by putting him in Retribution, taking away his name, taking away everything special about him, put him behind a goofy little fucking mask. Dominik Dijakovic is now Teabags. And Keith Lee can't even get on the show. These guys were main eventing NXTs. The scary, sad trend continues. So what does the WWE do here? They decided on the kickoff show, we're going to take 4 guys, none of which are worthy of a United States Championship opportunity. We're going to put them in a fatal 4-way, and the winner will take Keith Lee's spot. You had a choice of Elias, John Morrison, Ricochet, and who the hell was the 4th guy? That's how unimportant it was. I don't even remember. Let me see my notes here. Who was the 4th guy? Shitribution's leader, Ali. And they gave this opportunity to John Morrison. As soon as John Morrison... Actually, it doesn't matter who took the pin. This match was only made, this fatal 4-way match was made to put the person in the match that was going to lose the title for Bobby Lashley. If Bobby Lashley was just going to win, there was no need for them to put a 3rd person in this match. They could have just went with, well, it's now just one-on-one. Lashley versus Riddle. And that's it. But no. They put this guy in there so that Matt Riddle could win the championship and then go in the back and take pictures holding corn dogs with the United States title. Because that's what's important. The jokey, comedy, ridiculous, infantile stylings of Matt Riddle have not translated to wins. The guy's done nothing but lose to Bobby Lashley week after week, getting wrapped up in the Hurt Lock. But tonight, thanks to John Morrison, he's your new United States champion. And this started off the speculation. Everybody's like, oh, this sends Bobby Lashley off to bigger and better things. And I couldn't agree more. Maybe this was the time, and I was actually going to accept it. I was going to come up here and be gracious that they tried something different and that they're going to change directions. And I was going to be a little bit more positive because I thought the prospect of Lashley versus McIntyre at WrestleMania was maybe one of the best case scenarios they have for the Red brand, which is a show full of steaming piles of poop hammer trash. But no, man, no. Matt Riddle is your new United States champion. He likes corn dogs too, apparently. And John Morrison is still a loser, as well as the other other 3 men that were in that fatal 4-way, who can't even make it on the main show for themselves at all. Michael Cole then confirmed that Edge will be challenging Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 37. This is the wrench in the gears that took the whole machine and threw it out of whack. We were set up for a couple of nice possibilities. And instead they took their eggs, they cracked them and scrambled them up into a big piece of crap omelet. An omelet full of dirt and mud and Miz. Gross. Talk about gross, the WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler had a ridiculous match for no reason against the Smackdown Women's Champion Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. This is because they have this need to put the Women's Champion in the Women's Tag Team Championship storyline. It's just a thing that they do. They did it with Asuka. Now they're doing it with Sasha Banks. Speaking of Asuka, Asuka was supposed to be fighting Bam Bam Lacey Evans tonight, but we all know Bam Bam got her arrest pregnant. Bam, which is good for us because she's off the show. But it's really bad for Asuka because now that they have nothing to do for Charlotte, apparently Asuka doesn't count anymore. Because if they can't revolve around the Queen, Asuka can't wrestle. That's it. We can't just come up with a simple replacement. Take any girl from the back and just go, hey, you want a random shot at Asuka? You're going to lose just like Daniel Bryan's going to lose or anybody that would lose to Roman Reigns. Just do it. Just do it for me. No. Instead, Asuka removed from the card. But you got time on this card for our faults. You got time on every show for fucking Reginald. But you couldn't come up with something for Asuka. Reginald made his ugly presence felt in this tag team matchup. He caused the Sasha Banks pinfall. He came out and he offered her a bottle of champagne before the match was even over, for whatever reason. And this caused Sasha to be distracted and pinned by Nia Jax. What is the point of this whole thing? There was no sense of a heel turn by Bianca Belair. No sense of a turn by Sasha Banks. I thought for sure they were going to use this as an opportunity to make their feud feel meaningful and give it a launch point to gain some heat and get some hate for one another. But apparently the WWE felt that we don't need to address any of those things. And we're just going to have Reginald go out there, throw a bottle in the ring and call it a night. Sasha, you're going to be pinned. I know you're the champ. I know there's another person in the match that's not a champion, but you're the champ. You're going to take the pinfall to Nia Jax, who's got nothing at all to do with what you're doing on the road to WrestleMania. And a champion is pinned on pay-per-view in a meaningless tag team matchup for fucking what? And they did nothing with it. Nothing. How are they going to tell us a story from here to WrestleMania that matters with Sasha Banks? Is Bianca going to be mad that they lost this match? Is Sasha going to be mad on Smackdown Friday? Because she didn't seem to be too mad tonight. This match was terrible. Nia Jax looks like she's not even trying. It looks like she don't even care. I'm just here, and I'm just going to throw wild maneuvers. I'm going to miss my spots. I'm going to stumble around the ring like a blind clown. Miss a clothesline by about that much. She's not even trying. And when you think about the fact that Shayna Baszler, Sasha Banks, and Bianca Belair in this match, and it is one of the worst matches on the card. That's a tragedy. That's a tragedy. If that's not something wrong with the show, then I don't know what is. Then we see MVP conspiring in the back with The Miz. This is where all the speculation starts to run rampant. Is Bobby Lashley going to buy the Money in the Bank? Where the fuck would Bobby Lashley help The Miz anyway, now that we're thinking about what is that conversation going to entail? Now we have to go to Raw tomorrow night and listen to some 25-minute diatribe by The Miz about how he made some stupid agreement. And now what? Is The Miz going to have to fight Bobby Lashley on Raw? Is he just going to hand him the title on Raw? What's going to happen? Miz versus Lashley at Fastlane? Where does Drew McIntyre go from here? Holy shit. Holy shit. We ended the night with a Raw Elimination Chamber match, which started at about 8:45. 8:45. That's why we're all here so early tonight. This show was over by 9:30. Best thing about this show by far. Over before 10 o'clock. It wasn't nearly 3 hours long. Although they definitely could have made it even shorter. They put so much filler and so much packages and commercial spots and backstage segments that were unnecessary. They really could have wrapped this shit up in 2 hours and got us all here even earlier. The Raw Elimination Chamber match didn't impress me all that much. It was a decent Elimination Chamber. I've seen worse. But it was going to be hard to follow that opening one. The first chamber, the Smackdown chamber, was the best chamber match actually might have been the best match of the night, hands down. Hands down. And then, of course, Bobby Lashley would jump Drew McIntyre after this came down to... Actually, you know what? I'm skipping forward a little bit. The Elimination Chamber for Raw came down to Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles. And I thought, well, if AJ wins here, that would be great. That would be great. We could move forward with Drew being the sympathetic babyface once again and AJ being the prick. Something happened with AJ and almost... I guess they almost broke up. Their little duo that they're doing, I don't know, but almost got pissed off and booked from the Elimination Chamber. Wasn't very happy about it, AJ, but nonetheless, AJ made it to the end. He was one of the final two with Drew McIntyre, and it looked almost as if he was going to pull it off, but he went for the phenomenal forearm, and on his way down, got met in the face with a Claymore kick. Drew McIntyre retained the championship. The cage goes up. Bobby Lashley attacks and then slowly makes his way down to the back as The Miz comes out to cash in, and I felt my blood begin to boil and the hair stood up on my back, and the fear just took me, just definitely took me 100%. The Miz hits Drew McIntyre with a DDT. Drew McIntyre kicks out. I thought, okay, there's hope. But then The Miz hits a skull-crushing finale and wins the WWE Championship. And it's making me feel worse than I felt all day. You know, at 6:30 this morning, I was in the bathroom. I was throwing my guts up. I woke up this morning. I wasn't feeling too well. And it's probably because I had a premonition. I probably felt this coming along. And now I know why I have felt like shit all day. I knew. It was like my spider senses were tingling. So, bleh! Monday Night Raw, bleh! It's synonymous with me being sick to my stomach. And now we have to deal with that shit 24 hours from now. 3 hours of Raw to explain a show that I don't want to hear your explanations. In fact, I have zero reason to tune into Monday Night Raw tomorrow night. I'm not interested. I don't care. I don't care. So I'm giving you guys fair warning right now to my diehards. If you guys don't see me here tomorrow night, if we don't do a Raw review tomorrow night, it's because I just don't care. I couldn't get myself to turn it on. I'd much rather be playing Werewolf the Apocalypse, which I bought for my Xbox, which I still haven't tried yet, or be playing with my new Oculus headset. Much more interesting, better use of my time than watching a Monday Night Raw that's going to do nothing but make me angry. This show was a disgrace. A disgrace. Outside of that first match, the Elimination Chamber match, The rest is equal to silence. I would have been happy just watching Daniel Bryan and Cesaro wrestle for 2.5 hours straight. That would have been a much better pay-per-view than this. Those two guys were in the ring together tonight. Magical. Absolutely magical. Two of the best in the business. Doing what they do best. And never getting rewarded for it. Always a bridesmaid. Never a bride, apparently. Thank you guys so much. That's it. That's all we got to say about tonight's Elimination Chamber. It was a fucking mess. And I hated it. What did you think about tonight's pay-per-view? What do you think about your new WWE Champion? Sound off in the comments section. Please sound off. Don't make me be the only guy that's so full of piss and vinegar over the Miz being the champ. Let your keyboard fly, man, and let your trolls out. I don't care what you got to do. Tell me how much you hated it. I want to hear. I want to hear how much you hated it, because I can't be the only one that wants to sledgehammer his brains out. I can't be. Also, please hit that like button. It really does help us out. If you're not a member of the Sledge Nation already, hit that subscribe button and join right now. Help us get to and over that 3,000 subscriber mark, inching closer to that 10K every single day. Maybe this year is the year we finally get it done, and that is all up to you. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball, the most important member of the team, as always. Each and every one of you. If you miss anything on the channel, like the Raw and Smackdown go-home shows to this piece of shit pay-per-view, they'll be linked in the annotations up above. The Royal Rumble review from last month, and be sure to subscribe and stay notified so you don't miss anything coming up in the future, like the possible Raw review tomorrow night, or the Smackdown review, or everything that they throw at us on the road. The bumpy road, full of potholes and, what do you call those things they throw out, the treads with the nails up to stop your car from progressing forward. That's the road to WrestleMania we're on. A road full of booby traps. Normally I like boobies. Not that kind. That's gonna do it. We are out of here. We will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.